So what you want to do is when you make a problem statement, you need to have tools ready for identifying certain points of this problem statement. So there are 5 points. I am, what I want to do, but, because, and I feel. So for the I am, it's good to have your SWOT, maybe a personal SWOT if it's for just for you. Uh, a brand manual for a company, knowing who you guys are, knowing your core values, knowing your everything, knowing who you are. If it's also personal, again, it's the Myers Briggs type indicator. I mean, fine, this is more of the in the realm of personal belief, but sometimes it helps to know what kind of people you guys are and the people you work with. And I mean, not really how compatible you are in terms of dating, but more of how you'll work together. Identifying the emotional triggers, identifying uh, sort of work habits, and all these things. And what I want to do when you set goals, of course, it's great to use SMART, uh, the specific, measurable, attainable, etc., etc. And again, your mission, vision, and core values. Because once you set a vision and you think of something you want to do, maybe short term, maybe long term, it has to aid in the vision of what you really truly want to be in at the end of your life, or at the end of your time in the company. And then for but, when you identify the pitfalls, the walls, the holes, the gaps, it's also good to try SWOT. So understanding yourself and what surrounds you, the circumstances around you, can really truly help. You could also use Porter's 5 forces. Uh, and I didn't put it here, but you could also use other things like root cause analysis for but it's mostly used for because that's what we're trying to tackle with because root cause analysis. So there are multiple management tools that use root cause analysis. There are Fishbone. There are uh, other types of ways you can identify RCA. And then I feel you could use the Myers Briggs type indicator again, but these are more, I mean, I think these don't need management tools. You just ask the people and be empathetic. Uh, you you understand them. You understand people, and it's a different skill altogether. But it'll most certainly help because sometimes they might not want to open up these emotions, especially for work. So let's go to the design thinking framework. Now that you've gotten your problem statement down, now you have to make something to help you get through the problem. And I really subscribe to the idea of design thinking. This is a tried and tested formula for creating most things, creating things for coding, creating things for other mechanical and engineering designs, for sometimes even for art, sometimes even for because it's a good balance between that. Design is a good balance between science and art, and it's a good balance between logic and emotion because you get to think about it, but also you don't discard the feeling about it because at the end of the day, They say don't judge a book by its cover, but you know, some people buy books because it's pink or because it's orange. It's their favorite color. It's or they watch commercials because they made them laugh, and then they remember the the, the brand. So the first box is empathize. Always, always, always begin with empathize. Put yourself in the shoes of whoever it is, whoever's problem it is you're trying to solve. So if it's your client's problem, put yourself in the shoes of your client. Try to get to understand them. And empathize is really I'd call it a full brain activity because you're not just feeling it, you're also thinking about it. And it's not just an artsy, hippie kind of, yeah, man, I feel you, or, but it's also not just cold hard facts. It's putting these facts, putting all your senses. So the smell, the taste, the look, what it sounds like, and really putting these together and making a whole experience out of whatever that client or yourself, whatever is being felt or whatever is a problem at the moment. And then you define the problem. So you empathize to help define the problem. There's an arrow there that leads to it. And once you define the problem, that's when you can really start. Because, of course, empathize is the first box because, I mean, you can't solve a problem that there's a good chance you might solve something that really wasn't a problem to begin with, or you don't dig deep enough to solve it. Like, you might give band aid solutions. So once you define the problem and really look at it in the face or map it out or however you want to visualize it or think about it, then you can start to ideate. When you ideate, uh, well, from the word itself, you make ideas that could help solve that problem. Now you've defined everything, you've put everything on a map. Now it's time to get a plan to get from the Philippines to Japan, something like that, or from the Philippines to the United States. Um, let's see, if you want to take a plane, if you want to take a boat, uh, how do I get to a certain place from the airport? And it gets a little more uh, detailed than that. And for example, what if the plane doesn't leave or it gets canceled? What is the plan B? What is the whatever, whatever, whatever? And so when you ideate, of course, you really have to put in time to make the prototype. So prototypes are not really per se like when we think of prototype, we probably think of maybe robots or plastic models or clay models or building structures that are smaller than scale models. But I mean, this is not always the case. Prototypes can be sketches, or it can be uh, cold scripts or poorly written scripts. It can even be just words written on a piece of napkin and just testing how it feels, how it sounds like, because you might never know what you'll be prototyping. And you prototype also to learn from all this. I mean, when you prototype, you sort of go back to the ideation stage if it doesn't work out. And it could spark new ideas. For example, you make a certain prototype and you notice that everything's going well except for Maybe one part is dangling, or one part seems like it's missing, it has a hole. Then you go back to ideation, and maybe you fix the current prototype, or you make a new one, and etc., etc. And once you're done with the prototype, once you're happy with it, and once everyone is happy with it, of course, this is internal. This is still internal at this point. You then test it. When you test it, that's that's uh, that's it. That's when you really get to know if you made it or not, or if you did well or not. Because as the name says, a test, when you do a test, you can fail, and you can fail big time actually. Uh, I'm pretty sure you know this. Maybe you, Elliot, from doing your DIY, and then you, Matt, from coding. So when when we test, we sort of understand that it creates new ideas for the project. So when you test, you sort of understand what you're making a lot more, and it helps you give an idea bank, not just for this current project but for the future. I'm sure you've done certain projects at school or for your friends that like you've thought about them at work, and you took them and you said, "Hey, then I do this for this one time at school or for this one guy," and you sort of bring those experiences, the prototyping, the testing, into your other projects as well. And the test, of course, reveals insights that redefine the problem. Once you do the test, once you're once you might be you all might be happy with the test, but it could redefine the problem. For example, if you're making an app, or if you're making a machine prototype for, I don't know, for biology or for medicine use, you might be happy with how the things have worked out, but then you might also discover that, wait a minute, the problem was never this to begin with. I mean, we can use this for another stage of design thinking, or for another stage of this, but this was never the problem at all. And I know it's scary, right? Like, to be able to go through all of this just to say that it wasn't the problem. So, I mean, we can't be scared. I mean, we have to keep doing this and keep doing this until we get it right. And that's what's beautiful about this framework, is that it's scary, but at the same time, you know it's going to move you forward, and nothing is ever wasted, because you'll be bringing those experiences to the next and to the next and to the next project.